Welcome to Undertales. Today we invite you to listen to the story. I took the whole family of 8 on a luxury trip. The train just arrived and they quietly got off, leaving me to fall overslept. I immediately closed the account the next day. 9 consecutive calls? The alarm clock's shrill sound pierced through my exhausted sleep at 5:00 a.m. I fumbled for my phone in the cramped hotel room, my eyes heavy with fatigue. When I finally focused on the screen, a cold shock ran down my spine. The resort shuttle had left an hour ago for the morning activities I had planned and paid for. I sat up in the narrow hotel bed looking around the empty room. 7 family members and all their luggage had vanished without a trace, leaving only my single suitcase sitting lonely on the opposite bed. I frantically dialed my mother, Margaret's number. It rang 7-8 times before she finally answered, her voice showing no urgency whatsoever. "Oh, you're awake," she said casually. "Mom, where is everyone? Why didn't anyone wake me up for the morning excursions?" My voice was hoarse with panic. "You looked so peaceful sleeping. We thought you wanted to sleep in, so we all went ahead," she replied matter-of-factly. "Sleep in?" I nearly screamed. "Didn't we plan this whole family reunion weekend together? This was supposed to be celebrating Dad Robert's retirement." "Don't be so dramatic, Sarah. You didn't set your own alarm. I told everyone to let you sleep. After all, you're just here to pay for everything anyway." I could hear my sister Jessica's distinctive laugh in the background, along with my brother Michael chiming in. "What else can Big Sis do besides throw money around?" I hung up, my hands clenched so tightly they hurt. The resort landscape blurred past the window like my own confused thoughts. Looking back, this family weekend was supposed to celebrate Dad Robert's 65th birthday and retirement. Mom Margaret had insisted that I, as the eldest and most successful, should handle all the expenses and planning. I had spent 2 weeks without sleep, booking flights, arranging the resort, planning activities. "Don't worry about it. We trust you completely," Robert had said, patting my shoulder with what I thought was love but now realized it was exploitation. Finally, our shuttle reached the final stop. I stumbled off, feeling lost in this unfamiliar place. Despite the crowds around me, I had never felt so alone. I pulled out my credit card, the gold card I had specifically increased the limit for to cover this family trip. Right now, it was the only thing I could trust. In the hotel room, I mechanically washed my face, the warm water running down my cheeks. I couldn't tell if it was water or tears. 5 years since college flashed before me like a fast-forwarded movie. The first time I met my family's true nature was right after graduation. Margaret had criticized my career choice in medical translation. At my graduation dinner, Jessica had accidentally spilled red wine on my cap and gown. Every family gathering, I had to handle all the cooking and cleaning. My salary went to the family account, but household expenses were mostly my responsibility. The ridiculous thing was, I once naively thought that sacrificing everything for family would earn their acceptance and love. My phone rang again, Margaret's name flashing on the screen. I took a deep breath and answered. "Sarah, why aren't you answering my calls? I've called you dozens of times." "I was in the shower," I replied calmly, though anger was boiling inside me. "Call Dad back and apologize right now. The whole family is waiting for you to join us. Dad's birthday celebration is delayed because of you." "Apologize?" My voice cracked. "You all abandoned me at the hotel and now you want me to apologize? You're fine, aren't you? Don't be so dramatic. I said if you have any conscience left, you'll buy a ticket and come meet us. Don't ruin the family atmosphere, T.A." Those words, "don't be dramatic," cut through me like a dull knife. For 5 years, every complaint, every injustice had been dismissed with those same 3 words. I looked at myself in the mirror. Red, swollen eyes, disheveled hair. I didn't recognize myself anymore. "Hello, Sarah," Margaret pressed impatiently. I spoke each word clearly. "Tell Dad that after this birthday celebration, he'll remember it for the rest of his life." I hung up and opened my banking app. On the screen appeared a list of supplementary credit cards I had opened for my family members. I placed my finger on the suspend button. For the first time in 5 years, I felt a strange sensation, both cold and satisfying. My hand trembled as I pressed the suspend button. The screen showed successful, and I collapsed onto the bed, letting out a laugh that was half crying, half relief. My phone immediately started ringing frantically. First Jessica, which I let ring until it stopped, then Michael, my uncle, and even my grandfather, who had never proactively called me before. I didn't answer any of them, just watched the screen light up and fade like a comedy show. Finally came a text from Robert. "Have you lost your mind?" The birthday dinner bill can't be paid because the cards are frozen. The whole family is trapped at the restaurant. I slowly typed back, "You should reconsider our family relationship." Then I blocked all contact from my family members. The unfamiliar city outside my window began to light up as evening fell. I decided to go for a walk. Anything was better than being tortured by phone calls in the room. The evening breeze gently caressed my face, and I suddenly realized this was the first time in years I'd walked alone. Since moving back home after college, even taking out the trash required explaining to Margaret where I was going. I stopped at a small cafe and ordered a bowl of soup. When the steaming bowl was brought out, my phone rang. It was my best friend Emma. "Emma, I heard you froze all your family's cards?" Emma's voice was full of excitement. "That's amazing." "News travels fast," I replied. "Your sister Jessica posted a status on Facebook cursing you out, even posted a photo of the whole family standing in the restaurant lobby, looking completely defeated." Emma laughed. "I knew immediately that you finally fought back." I stirred my soup, suddenly not feeling hungry. They left me alone at the hotel and then all went off without me. There was silence on the other end for a few seconds. Then Emma exploded. "Those bastards! What are you planning to do now?" "I don't know yet," I answered honestly, "but I don't want to live like this anymore." "You should have done this a long time ago." Emma sighed. "I've watched you get drained by them for years. You went from being the undefeated debate champion in college to this." Emma's words ripped open the facade I had carefully painted over this family relationship. That's right. Who was I 5 years ago? I was an outstanding graduate with a job offer from an international company. I was the confident girl who stood on the debate podium. And now I had become an unpaid servant for my family. Even my bank account passwords had to be reported to my parents. "They won't let you off easy," Emma said seriously. "Your mom, Margaret, is the type who's best at playing the victim. I bet right now they're having a family meeting to figure out how to deal with you." I looked at my blurred reflection in the cafe window. That shadow seemed stronger than the real me. Let them come, I thought to myself. I have nothing left to lose. Back at the hotel, my phone showed 28 missed calls and 63 text messages. I scrolled through them. What started as demands had quickly turned into curses and threats. The last message from Robert read, "Come back tomorrow to explain yourself. If not, don't blame me for not caring about our relationship." I laughed softly and turned off my phone. That night, I slept better than I had in years. The next morning, as soon as I turned on my phone, I saw that Margaret had posted a long rant in our family group chat painting me as ungrateful, unreasonable, and deliberately sabotaging Robert's birthday. Relatives chimed in one after another, some saying Robert should teach me a lesson, others even suggesting this type of daughter needs to be put in her place. What chilled me most was Robert's response, "Don't worry, everyone, I'll handle this. She's normally very obedient, probably just hormonal and emotionally unstable right now." Hormonal. I was furious enough to laugh. So all my legitimate grievances over the years had been attributed to that cheap excuse. For 5 years, every time I was doubled over in pain during my period, I still had to get up to cook and wash dishes. Why didn't he mention hormones then? I screenshotted all the messages and left every family group chat. Then I did the second rebellious thing in my life. I used my credit card to change my flight ticket, but not to go back to the house I shared with my family. Instead, I flew to Boston where my divorced father, David, lived. While waiting at the airport, Emma called again. "Your mom, Margaret, brought 3 of your aunts to your apartment, claiming they're there to help pack your things, but really they're searching to see if you have any hidden money." "Let them search," I said calmly. "I took all the important stuff with me." "When did you become so tough?" Emma asked, surprised. "I barely recognize you." I looked at the airport departure board flashing flight information and said quietly, "When you realize there's no way back, you only have 2 choices, kneel down and die or stand up and live." As the plane took off through the about small window, I watched the city grow smaller. I remembered when I first discovered my family's true nature, the day after graduation when Margaret criticized my height in front of everyone. When I signed my first lease, Jessica deliberately spilled wine on my moving boxes. Every family gathering where I had to handle all the cooking and cleaning while my salary went into the family account, but I still had to cover most household expenses. What I remembered most clearly was 3 months after starting my job when I worked late and missed Margaret's birthday dinner. That night, in front of the whole family, Margaret dumped a whole plate of food on my head saying, "That'll teach you." I cried and wanted to go to Dad David's house. She got on her knees and apologized, saying she did it because she loved me so much. And I forgave her, not just once, but dozens of times. Like that, my boundaries were eroded bit by bit. Today's abandonment at the hotel was just the last straw. When the plane landed and my phone reconnected, Margaret's call came immediately. This time I answered. Sarah, where the hell are you, you ungrateful brat? Her screaming voice made other passengers turn and stare. The whole family is waiting for you to explain yourself. You've been missing all morning. I'm at Dad David's house, I said calmly. What, you went to your father's? Do you know how angry I am? Get back here right now and apologize. I took a deep breath. I want to cut ties with this family. Man, a silence on the other end for a few seconds, then a cold voice. You think you can cut ties with us? You think anyone would want damaged goods like you? Don't worry about that. I hung up my hand, shaking but my heart strangely light. Walking out of the airport, I saw Dad David waiting, his eyes full of concern. My stepmother Linda ran over and hugged me tightly. Sweetheart, why did you endure this for so long without telling us? It turned out Emma had told Dad David about me being abandoned at the hotel. Dad just quietly took my suitcase and said, "Come home, that's all that matters." Sitting on the familiar couch in Dad's house holding the warm tea Linda made, I finally broke down crying. In 5 years of living in Margaret's house, the number of times I came to Dad's could be counted on one hand. All because I was afraid Margaret wouldn't be happy. Now I finally understood people who truly love you will never use love as chains. That night, Margaret sent a text that read, like a court summons, I'm giving you 3 days to think about it. If not, don't blame me for being ruthless. I simply replied, no need. Then I called the lawyer Emma had recommended and scheduled a meeting for the next day. The moonlight outside was as bright as silver. I knew the real battle was just beginning. 3 days later, I returned to the house that had once been our family home. The lawyer had advised me to collect evidence and financial documents to prepare for the legal case. When I put the key in the lock, my hand instinctively trembled. I pushed the door open and stepped inside. The smell of cigarettes, alcohol, and stale food hit me with overwhelming intensity. My entire family, 7 people, sat packed in the living room, all turning to look at me in unison like a tribunal about to pass judgment. Finally decided to come crawling back? Jessica spoke first, legs crossed arrogantly on my leather sofa, a bottle of nail polish open and dripping red drops onto the new table runner. Margaret sat in the center armchair, my usual spot, her face dark as storm clouds. Sarah, you've gone too far this time. I didn't respond, walking straight to the bedroom. Margaret followed me in and slammed the door. What's this attitude? The whole family is waiting for you to explain yourself and you're acting like a mute. Explain what? I opened the closet and started gathering my clothes. Explain why you all abandoned me at the hotel or why I froze the credit cards that were feeding your entire family. Margaret's face contorted. So you really are getting revenge. I was right. You're exactly the type to bite the hand that feeds you. I stopped packing and looked directly at her. I've been supporting this family for 5 years. House payments, food, Robert's medical supplements, Jessica's makeup, all from my salary, and Robert never contributed a dime. Now you call me ungrateful. She stood frozen for a few seconds, then laughed bitterly. Back from your father's house for a few days and you think you're hot stuff. Want to cut ties with the family? Dream on. You'll leave with nothing or not at all. Or what? I looked at her coldly. Or I'll tell everyone that you can't function as an adult, that's why we're cutting you off. Your father David has a weak heart. Can he handle that kind of shock? I stared in shock at this woman who had raised me. She had become a complete stranger, frightening in her cruelty. Margaret, you make me sick, I said, fighting back nausea. Say whatever you want. She shrugged and pulled a pre-printed agreement from the drawer, clearly stating that I would give up all claims to family assets. I looked at the paper and burst out laughing. You think I'll sign this? If you don't sign, don't blame me for being ruthless, she said through gritted teeth. I picked up my phone and called right in front of her. Hello, Mr. Williams, this is Sarah. About the family financial abuse case, I've decided to proceed with full legal action. Margaret's face immediately went pale. Clearly, she hadn't expected me to actually hire a lawyer. On the other end, Mr. Williams, my college friend, who was now a lawyer at a prestigious firm, responded. Yes, Sarah. Based on the evidence you provided, we're confident we can recover your rightful financial assets, including 50% ownership of the house. Margaret grabbed the phone and hung up. You set this up beforehand, didn't you? So what if I did? The house down payment was $600,000, of which $500,000 came from my earnings. Your family only contributed $100,000, but you dare claim you paid for everything. Throughout these 5 years, I've been the one making the mortgage payments. How do you explain that? She was speechless, then flew into a rage. You've been planning this from the beginning, haven't you? She raised her hand to hit me. I quickly grabbed a lamp from the nightstand in self-defense. If you touch me, I'll call the police. Domestic violence and threats, that's enough to destroy you in family court. She froze, not expecting the daughter who had once been as docile as putty to be this tough. From outside, Robert banged on the door. Sarah, what's happening in there? Are you hitting her? That's when I felt both amused and strangely clear-headed. This 5-year family relationship had just been the twisted product of a dysfunctional family system. I took a deep breath and picked up my packed suitcase. See you in court? I opened the door and walked past the furious stares of my entire family, heading straight for the exit. Behind me, Margaret's hysterical screaming echoed, "Let her go. She'll come crawling back on her knees someday." I walked down the stairs as summer sunlight blazed across my face. I opened my phone and texted Mr. Williams, "I've decided to proceed with the lawsuit. Please help me prepare the legal documents." Looking up at the sky, a flock of birds spread their wings and flew past their clear calls ringing in the wind. For the first time in 5 years, I could taste freedom, out of which $500,000 came from my earnings. Your family only contributed $100,000, but you dare claim you paid for everything. Throughout these 5 years, I've been the one making the mortgage payments. How do you explain that? She was speechless, then flew into a rage. You've been planning this from the beginning, haven't you? She raised her hand to hit me. I quickly grabbed a lamp from the nightstand in self-defense. If you touch me, I'll call the police. Domestic violence and threats, that's enough to destroy you in family court. She froze, not expecting the daughter who had once been as docile as putty to be this tough. From outside, Mom banged on the door. Sarah, what's happening in there? Are you hitting her? That's when I felt both amused and strangely clear-headed. This 5-year family relationship had just been the twisted product of a dysfunctional family system. I took a deep breath and picked up my packed suitcase. See you in court. I opened the door and walked past the furious stares of my entire family, heading straight for the exit. Behind me, Mom's hysterical screaming echoed, "Let her go. She'll come crawling back on her knees someday." I walked down the stairs as summer sunlight blazed across my face. I opened my phone and texted Mr. Williams. I've decided to proceed with the lawsuit. Please help me prepare the legal documents. Looking up at the sky, a flock of birds spread their wings and flew past their clear calls ringing in the wind. For the first time in 5 years, I could taste freedom. I had bank statements from nearly 3 years and some transfer records, but the older documents were at Margaret's house. At the time, I had trusted them completely and hadn't kept copies of anything. Mr. Williams sighed. This is exactly the weakness many people face in family financial abuse cases. They shoulder almost all financial responsibility, but lack evidence when it comes to legal proceedings, making them very vulnerable. Those words made my nose sting with emotion. That's right. For years, who had I been? I was someone with a decent job and good salary, but at home, I still had to handle cooking, cleaning, and caring for my parents, playing 2 roles without recognition in either. But don't worry, Mr. Williams patted my hand gently. The house deed has your name on it and the mortgage payment records too. Those are important evidence. Now we need additional proof of your family's wrongful behavior. Just then my phone rang. It was Margaret calling, but Dad David's panicked voice came through. Sarah, come home immediately. Margaret brought a group of people and stormed into the house. Your stepmother got so upset her heart condition flared up again. My blood felt like it froze. I rushed out immediately. Mr. Williams said nothing, just grabbed his car keys. I'll drive you. On the way, I kept calling Margaret, but everything went to voicemail. Then Dad texted that he'd called an ambulance and was taking Linda to City General Hospital. When Mr. Williams and I arrived at the emergency room, I heard Margaret's shrill voice echoing down the hallway. Don't try to frame me. She got sick on her own. Well, what does that have to do with me? I turned the corner and saw Linda in a wheelchair, pale as a sheet, with Dad shielding her, while Margaret and 2 of my aunts surrounded them, speaking harshly. Robert stood to one side, his face cold as ice. I ran over to shield Dad and Linda. "What do you people think you're doing?" Seeing me, Margaret immediately changed her tone, sitting down on the floor and slapping her thighs dramatically. "Everyone come see, the daughter wants to cut ties, and now she's got people backing her up to oppress her own family." The other patients' families started looking our way. One of my aunts shouted loudly, "A daughter who can't even take care of her family and still acts so arrogant. She should be thrown out." I was shaking with rage. Who says I can't take care of my family? I've been the only one supporting everyone financially. That hit a nerve. Margaret screamed and rushed toward me, grabbing my shirt collar. "Sarah, say that again." Just then, a strong hand firmly gripped Margaret's wrist. "Ma'am, this is a hospital. Violence and harassment are prohibited." I turned to see a doctor in a white coat with silver-framed glasses, tall and lean with a serious expression. His firm grip on Margaret's wrist made her let go of me in pain. "Who are you to interfere in other people's business?" Margaret snapped. "I'm Dr. James Peterson from Internal Medicine," he replied calmly. "That patient is under my care. If you don't keep quiet, I'll call security." Margaret wanted to argue, but Robert pulled her back. The whole group retreated, their eyes still full of threats. Dr. Peterson bent down to examine Linda, asking gently about her symptoms. His professionalism and calm demeanor felt like a shield protecting us from the chaos my family had created. "She needs to be admitted for observation overnight. I've already arranged a bed." The doctor told Dad, his voice gentle. Dad thanked him continuously. Just then, Robert's phone rang. He answered and his face went pale. "Which department? What internal affairs?" He glared at me accusingly. "Sarah, you're truly vicious." And I hadn't even figured out what was happening when he stormed off with Margaret and my aunts hurrying after him. The hallway finally returned to peace. I sincerely thanked Dr. Peterson. "Just doing my job." He nodded and handed me a business card. "If you need anything, come find me in internal medicine." I took it, noticing his hands were clean and well-groomed, nails neatly trimmed, completely opposite to Robert's always dirty, unkempt fingers. After Linda was admitted, Mr. Williams pulled me aside. "When Robert mentioned internal affairs being called, did you report him?" I shook my head. "No, but he works for the state government. If he's not clean, it's not surprising someone reported him." Mr. Williams, Mr. Williams' eyes lit up. "This could be a lead. I'll have someone investigate further. Meanwhile, you need to focus on protecting yourself and your parents. Your family's behavior today is enough to get a restraining order." That evening, I sat by Linda's hospital bed rereading a series of abusive texts from my family members. One from Jessica read, "You piece of trash. Did you call the cops? Just wait for the lawsuit." I hadn't reported anything, but thinking about it, someone like Robert probably had more than a few enemies. Being exposed was just a matter of time. I was about to turn off my phone when a new message appeared from an unknown number. "Ms. Sarah, I'm Dr. James Peterson. I have some matters related to your stepmother's condition that I need to discuss with you. Could you come to the nurse's station for a moment?" I quietly left the room and went to the nurse's station, but didn't see him. A nurse said he was in an emergency consultation and asked me to wait. While waiting, I looked up at the staff introduction board on the wall. Dr. James Peterson's name was listed with impressive credentials: Associate Chief of Internal Medicine, MD, PhD Fellowship trained abroad. "Sorry to keep you waiting." His voice came from behind me. He was still in his white coat pockets containing several pens and a small flashlight. "Your stepmother is stable now," he said gently. "But actually, I called you here not just for medical reasons." I nodded and he looked at me hesitantly. "I overheard some of what happened earlier. If you need it, the hospital has psychological counseling and legal support services." I was surprised that a doctor would pay attention to such matters. "Also," he hesitated, "when Robert grabbed you earlier, I noticed some old bruises on your arms. If you need medical documentation for injuries, I can help." My eyes suddenly burned with tears. Those bruises came from Robert's outbursts of anger, fits of rage that even Dad David and Linda hadn't noticed. Yet a man I'd just met today had seen everything. "Thank you." My voice caught in my throat. "I can't express how much this means." "I have a lawyer who's handling the family case already," I managed to say. Dr. Peterson nodded without asking further questions, just handed me a small piece of paper. "This is information for scheduling psychological counseling. Use it if you need it." Returning to the room, Linda was already asleep. Dad whispered, "How are things going, sweetheart?" Dad and Linda have always supported me. The lawyer says we have enough evidence, I said softly, not wanting to worry them more. Dad sighed. Sarah, your father and I have discussed it. We're behind you 100% on this lawsuit. What Margaret's family did today was completely out of line. We can't give in anymore. I squeezed Dad's hand tightly, tears falling silently. In that moment, I felt truly lucky to still have family who loved me unconditionally. As night fell, the hospital corridor gradually quieted. I sat by the window, starting to follow Mr. Williams' advice and collect evidence for the legal proceedings. Bank transfer records, threatening texts from Robert, video footage of the hospital chaos that Mr. Williams had managed to capture. While scrolling through my phone's photo album, I unexpectedly found a picture from last Christmas. Margaret's entire family sat around the dining table laughing and talking while I stood in the corner holding a serving tray, my eyes red and swollen. That day I had a 102-degree fever, but Margaret still forced me to cook the holiday meal. I immediately deleted that photo. From now on, I had to learn to live for myself. After Linda was discharged, I temporarily stayed at Dad's house. Mr. Williams advised me not to return to the old house during the waiting period before trial to avoid conflicts or being set up. The most important thing now is to find work again, he said. The court will consider both parties' economic conditions when determining financial support and asset division. Having no income is a major disadvantage. I gripped my phone tightly. 5 years out of the workforce at age 28, returning to the job market was no easy task. Not to mention, my field of medical translation required constant updates and I was seriously behind. I'll try. I forced myself to answer, then opened my laptop to start revising my resume. I deleted sections about sacrifices made for family, removed explanations for too many sick days when I had to take Mom to medical appointments. The things that once made me seem unprofessional left very little content. After sending applications to over a dozen places, I disappointedly realized I couldn't even get a single interview call. A recruiter tactfully told me, "Ms. Sarah, the medical translation field is changing rapidly now. 5 years is too long a gap." I smiled bitterly and hung up. Just when I was starting to doubt myself, my phone rang with an unknown number. "Hello, is this Sarah? This is Dr. Olmo. Martinez, head of international affairs at City General Hospital. Dr. Peterson recommended you for a project collaborating with Mayo Clinic. We need someone to translate medical documents and interpret at conferences." I was stunned. I had only met Dr. Peterson once. "Are you still there?" Dr. Martinez asked again. "Yes, I'm listening. When would this start? What preparation is needed?" "Next week. Dr. Peterson said you have excellent medical translation skills. The project runs for 3 months, and if you do well, we could offer a long-term contract with competitive salary." I hung up feeling bewildered, looking at Dr. Peterson's business card. I hesitated about whether to text my thanks, afraid of being a bother. Finally, I wrote, "Thank you, doctor, for the referral. I'll do my best." He replied quickly, "No problem. The department head is my study buddy. They were short-staffed, I just helped out. Hope I wasn't too presumptuous. Just a few simple lines, but they made my eyes well up." Living in Robert's house for 5 years, I was used to having every sacrifice taken for granted, while small mistakes got blown out of proportion. Yet a near stranger had gone out of his way to vouch for me. I texted back, "Thank you so much, truly." Then I leaned against the wall, letting exhaustion and emotions wash over me. I knew this family legal battle was just beginning, but at least now I wasn't alone. Monday morning, I dressed professionally and arrived at the International Affairs Department of City General Hospital. Dr. Martinez was a friendly middle-aged man who showed me around the office and explained the project. "Next week, Mayo Clinic experts are coming. Before then, we need to translate a stack of case files. Here are the documents. Dr. Peterson said your skills were solid. If you have any questions, just ask." I opened the file folder to see familiar medical terminology. Though I hadn't touched this work in 5 years, the foundation was still there. I quickly found my rhythm and completed 3 case files by morning. At lunch in the hospital cafeteria, I ran into Dr. Peterson. He nodded. "How's the work going?" "Very well. Thank you so much for this opportunity," I said sincerely. "No need to thank me." He adjusted his glasses. "I reviewed your morning translations. Very professional." I was surprised he had paid such close attention, feeling a bit self-conscious. "I'm still rusty after 5 years away from the field." "You're getting back up to speed quickly, which shows you have a solid foundation." He nodded, then hesitantly asked, How's the family lawsuit going? I briefly explained that Robert wouldn't agree to mediation, so Mr. Williams was preparing court documents. If you need medical documentation about your stepmother's stress-induced episode, just find me, he said, then checked his watch. I have surgery. See you later. Watching him walk away, I felt an unusual warmth. So there really were simply good people like this in the world. The project was going smoothly when Robert appeared again, this time bringing Mom along. Their demeanor had completely changed. They seemed friendly, as if nothing had ever happened. Sarah. Mom smiled ingratiatingly. Family shouldn't hold grudges. Robert knows he was wrong. You two should make up. Life is going well now. Robert stood beside her, his face strained. Mom's right. I was too hot-headed that day. Don't make this bigger than it needs to be. Divorce would be embarrassing for everyone. I looked at them suspiciously. What are you two plotting now? Sarah, how can you talk like that? Mom pretended to be hurt. We came with good intentions. You have a job again and life is looking up. Why hold on to grudges? So they knew I had a new job and income, which meant I was capable of independence. I was no longer the soft target they could easily squeeze, so now they wanted to reconcile. What are the conditions? I asked directly. Since they had come to make peace, there had to be conditions. Robert glanced at Mom, who cleared her throat. It's about the house. Even though both names are on the deed, the down payment came from our side. Now, if we divorce and you demand half, is that really fair? I laughed coldly. So it was about the house. Robert, do you remember what you told my father when we bought the house? Robert's face darkened, and Mom quickly interjected. Why bring up old things? Here's the deal, you withdraw the lawsuit. The house stays with Robert, but we won't touch your savings anymore. Fair enough? Mom spoke as if she was offering generous terms. Wake up, I said firmly. The house had a $600,000 down payment with $500,000 coming from my earnings. Your family only contributed $100,000, but you dare claim you paid everything. For 5 years, I've been the one making mortgage payments. How do you explain that? Mom's expression immediately changed. Who told you that? Robert frantically signaled for her to stop talking, but it was too late. I had only been guessing based on their strange recent behavior, but their reaction confirmed everything. My whole body trembled with rage. So Robert not only lived off me, but also lied about finances throughout our entire relationship. Exposed. Robert snapped angrily. That money was your father's voluntary contribution when you graduated. Legally, that's a gift. What about the loan document Dad kept? I replied calmly. It has your signature and clearly states it was borrowed money, not a gift. I was just testing their reaction. Dad had mentioned that because he wasn't comfortable, he had made Robert write a promissory note, but we weren't sure if it had legal value. Robert's expression confirmed everything. His face went pale. You've been calculating everything from the beginning. Calculating, I laughed coldly. Compared to what your family has done to me these 5 years, I'm just getting started. See you in court. Finding their soft approach unsuccessful, Mom immediately turned nasty. Ungrateful child. Don't think you're so clever. I've seen the type. Let's see how long you stay cocky. After they left, and angrily, I immediately called Mr. Williams, I have news. Dad still has the loan document for the house money. Excellent, Mr. Williams. Mr. Williams was excited. That's extremely strong evidence proving most of the down payment was a loan, not family property. This will be hugely beneficial in asset division. Plus, Robert's investigation is due to a coworker's husband filing a report alleging Robert took bribes and had an affair. While we're gathering evidence, you might be shocked by what we find. Affair. I gripped the phone tightly. Do you have proof? We're collecting it. Do you want to know? It might be very upsetting. I looked out the window where sunlight still shone brightly like my future gradually revealing itself. I'd rather be hurt once than live in deception forever. I logged back into our old shared cloud storage account, where some of our messages and photos were backed up. While searching, I accidentally opened a password-protected file. The password was our relationship anniversary date. Inside were intimate photos of Robert with another woman. The timestamps coincided with when I was traveling for work. There were even videos. I only looked for 1 second before shutting it off, nausea rising to my throat. I ran to the bathroom and dry-heaved. So while I was working overtime caring for sick family members, he was embracing someone else. I regained my composure, downloaded all the evidence, and sent it to Mr. Williams. Then I decided to change my phone number, the one I'd shared with my family since college. The new number I only gave to Dad, Linda, Mr. Williams, a few close friends, and Dr. Peterson for work communication. I told myself it was purely professional, but I couldn't hide my increased heartbeat when he texted, "Project going okay? You seem stressed today." I stared at that simple message and tears fell. This was how people should treat each other. Yet I had wasted 5 years in a family relationship like hell. I wiped my tears, opened my laptop, and began drafting the lawsuit documents. This time I would take back my life with my own hands. 2 weeks into the medical translation project, I had found my rhythm. Dr. Martinez was very pleased, even hinting at keeping me long-term. The international department needs people who are both medically knowledgeable and skilled in languages, he said enthusiastically during lunch. Dr. Peterson was right to recommend you, he added. I blushed, lowering my head to sip my soup, hiding my reddening cheeks. Don't praise me too much, I said. I was out of practice for 5 years. Still have a lot to catch up on. You're adapting very quickly, though, which proves your foundation is solid. He nodded, then looked concerned. I heard you're going through a family lawsuit. If you need character witnesses for anything, the hospital is willing to help. I was moved by the unexpected support. Here I'd found more kindness from colleagues in 2 weeks than from my family in Majamyrs Mikaiya. Just then my phone buzzed. Mr. Williams with urgent news. Sarah, your family mortgaged the house a second time 2 months ago to get $800,000 for Jessica's spa business. This is deliberate dissipation of marital assets. My hand trembled, nearly dropping my spoon. The house still had over $1 million in outstanding mortgage debt, and they dared to mortgage it again. Do you have evidence? I tried to stay calm. My friend at the bank sent me the mortgage contract and transfer orders. The signature is yours, but it's clearly forged. This is fraud. My vision blurred, and I had to grip the table to stay upright. My family's shamelessness kept exceeding every limit I thought possible. There's more, Mr. Williams continued. The affair is confirmed, too. The woman's name is Amanda, an accountant in Robert's office. They've been involved for over 2 years. 2 years, meaning when I was still bedridden after my miscarriage, he was already sleeping with someone else. While I thought Robert was distant due to work stress, he was being tender with another woman. Sarah, are you still there? Mr. Williams' voice brought me back to reality. I took a deep breath. With all this evidence, is it enough? More than enough, he answered confidently. Fraud, adultery, domestic violence, financial abuse. You'll get everything you deserve. That evening, I was reviewing case files when my phone chimed with a message from Dr. Peterson. Saw you seemed upset at lunch. Everything okay? I hesitated, then decided to be honest. Family legal issues. Just learned they forged my signature to mortgage our house and give the money to my sister. His reply came quickly. From a legal standpoint, forging signatures for mortgage fraud is a serious crime. Your lawyer should be able to handle it. Then he added, if you need to talk, I'm here. Sometimes an outside perspective helps. For reasons I couldn't explain, those simple words of support meant everything. I texted back, thank you. Just knowing someone cares helps more than you know. The trial was set for the following Thursday. Mr. Williams had compiled overwhelming evidence: the loan document from Dad, my salary records, mortgage payments, the forged signature documents, and proof of Robert's affair. They won't have a chance, he assured me. The evidence is too clear. But I knew my family wouldn't give up easily. Sure enough, the night before trial, Robert sent one final threatening text. If you go through with this, I'll post your private photos online. I still have them from when we lived together. I screenshotted the message immediately and sent it to Mr. Williams. Mr. Williams, add this to the evidence file. His response was swift: blackmail and revenge porn threats. He just handed us another criminal charge. Trial day arrived gray and drizzly, but I felt oddly calm. Mr. Williams met me at the courthouse steps. Ready for this? He asked. I looked up at the imposing courthouse building. More than ready. Let's finish this. As we walked through those doors, I felt like I was finally walking toward the life I deserved, one where I was treated with dignity and respect, where my contributions mattered, and where I could build something meaningful for myself. The little girl who once desperately wanted her family's love was gone. In her place stood a woman who knew her worth and wouldn't settle for less ever again.